Chicago! Your queen! She didn't come to play, she came to slay! Make some noise for Shea Couleé!
Who this? You ain't even on this list. Hitting up all our mutuals. Extra, extra as usuals. New phone, who this?
New show, Who Dis? Our guest today, the one, the only Shea Couleé.
Hello, Matt.
Drag performer, drag race winner, musician, a queen as fierce as they come.
Break a leg.
I like to say break a lash.
Oh, break a lash. That's much more appropriate.
We're talking music, drag, and how their art form is being politicized.
Oh, you learned your music from the church. And now we've got people banning drag queens from the church.
I'm Matt Rodrigues, reminding you it's okay to ask questions. We're celebrating pioneers in the queer community in hopes of opening minds and hearts through thoughtful conversations. So, I'm gonna ask some questions.
Do you feel the pressure of the queer community?
To better understand each other, let's talk and listen. Maybe then we'll realize we're a lot more alike than different. Oh, and Shea has some questions of her own.
Why y'all acting brand new? Who is after Peppermint? Damn!
Okay. There's this memory I have as a kid, putting on this purple dress that was in the play box in kindergarten. And I really loved it. Like, I loved putting it on. I loved playing with the other girls that were dressing up. But then there was this something in the back of my head that I felt like it wasn't right. I don't remember if somebody said it wasn't right to me. I don't know I don't remember my parents saying anything, but there was something in my body that was like, I don't think I'm supposed to be doing this. I wondered if you had a moment like that when you were young.
Before it was even clothes, it was makeup. Like, that was what I was most drawn to, was like playing in my mom's makeup when she was at work.
Did she have a lot of makeup? Like,
she did. So yeah, she did. So I was always just like, you know, playing around in these like colors, like trying to like figure out like how to apply different things. And that was like when I really first started experimenting. And I remember it was terrible. I remember looking in the mirror as a kid and being like, this is not how it looks like when mom puts it on. Like, you're doing something wrong. But not in the way that I felt like guilty, in the way that I felt like my technique was wrong.
Right. That was where the guilt was coming from.
I was like, this should look better.
Did your mom ever walk in, or did she give you tips, or where did you ultimately learn and play with it?
But I would say it really started, doing like theater and like musicals and plays, but I really feel like I started going like the extra mile when I started seeing shows like America's Next Top Model. I was always like really, really curious. So then I started kind of like playing around even more when we were doing like plays and musicals. And I remember it was like my sophomore year of high school. It was like the first time I like highlighted and contoured instead of just like doing.
And you went into school with it, or this was on the stage?
This was for like the stage, but like when we did it, you know, all the kids were just putting on like their basic like foundation, powder, a little bit of blush here. But I was like contouring my cheeks and my forehead and my nose, you know, my jaw, and everyone was like, I remember the kids being like, whoa, you look like you're carved out of stone. Like, what did you do? I was like, oh, it's just like this little thing that I learned. I just like picked it up. And like, I remember then just like seeing like the transformative like qualities of makeup, and it just grew and advanced like since.
Were you out in high school, or when did you come out?
I came out my sophomore year, like so like at the age of 15.
That's incredible to me.
Yeah.
Where did you get that? You know, bravery, really, because I feel like I was like way at the end of college, and it was still hard.
I always, to some degree, knew that I was queer. Like, even at like a really, really young, I would say like at age 4, I knew. And you know, like children aren't like born in the closet. You know, they go into the closet because they see how, you know, people, oftentimes like adults or even other children who are influenced by the adults around them who are saying that, you know, being gay or being queer is bad. So then you go into the closet as a form of just like safety and protection. I'm just not a good liar, and I just couldn't, it just was not, I just felt more liberated being honest about who I am. And so, you know, I just came out, and it was really just easy for me, honestly, because I felt like it just was like a relief. Like I just got all this weight off my shoulders, and you know, the remainder of high school was like fun for me because I got to be exactly who I was and, you know, make no apologies for it.
Did your family ever have any issues with it? Mom, dad? Like, how was that conversation?
Because they felt, at first my family was apprehensive because they felt like, oh my God, you're 15. How could you possibly be old enough to know? And I was very, you know, clear and firm with them. And I was like, I've always known, you know? And I was just like, on some level, I know that you've known for a long time too.
Did they know? Your dad was in the military, your mom was a reverend.
Yeah.
But they were smart.
I mean, I was always, as we say, light in the loafers. You know what I'm saying? Like, I was not like the other boys on the playground. So I felt like it was very obvious. So that's why I was just like, why are we even doing this whole like rigmarole? Like we all know that I am special. And so like, I just need to come out and embrace that I am like not the same as everybody else, and that is okay.
Didn't your sister introduce you to drag or to RuPaul's Drag Race?
Yes, my oldest sister, Ayana, it wasn't Drag Race, it was actually just RuPaul, you know, back in the 90s, because like, you know, Ayana was like all about it. She loved RuPaul, loved the RuPaul show. So I was like, you know, about 4 years old, you know, when Supermodel of the World came out. Well, look, here, I don't know if those two things are coincidental. Me being me, because I'm just like, you know, I knew when I was like around 4, and now I'm putting the pieces together. RuPaul. Yeah. But I remember seeing RuPaul and being like, okay. I didn't know, because I was
just
know
like, she was a she?
Did you know what it was? I just knew that she was different. And I knew that she was special. And so I just was like, I cannot articulate what I feel like I'm seeing, but I know that I see a piece of myself in that.
Do you feel the pressure of the queer community? Do you feel, I would imagine you have a balance of it now, but in the beginning, did you feel like, I need to be like this, and I need to say that, and I need to be well-read in every letter of the queer community?
Yeah,
do you feel that?
Well, I feel like, if anything, I just felt like I had a responsibility to just like my community, that I felt a responsibility to like represent and like show, you know, like this is what this community is able to produce and put out there on the world stage as like their type of drag, like what is Chicago drag? And that was kind of like what I focus on the most.
There's not a sentence that isn't Shea Couleé and Chicago. Like everywhere you go, someone mentions Chicago.
Yes.
So you've extended the brand.
Absolutely, that's important. I mean, anytime someone thinks that I don't live in Chicago, I'm like, I don't know how many times I'll be in LA and someone's just like, you live here now, right? I'm like, no, I don't. And I'm like, that's no shade to LA, but I'm a Chicago girl.
You've been such an advocate and spotlight for the non-binary community. I wonder, have you gotten a sense of that impact that you've had on your fans? And we got to talk to some of your fans when you performed, and it seemed to be very special that you identify in that way and are a voice for that part of the community.
I think, honestly, all I seek to do is to just live very honestly and very truthfully. And as I start to learn and understand myself more, you know, I share that. with my fans and followers all around in hopes that, you know, it allows someone to feel represented. You know, the same way that I was able to like see myself in RuPaul when I was 4 years old, I want to be able to like live my life as an example that allows, you know, other young queer people to be like, oh my gosh, hey, here's an example of a creative, Black, queer, non-binary person who's out there doing what they love. I can absolutely go out there and do the same thing too.
Chicago! Oh my God!
I was listening to an interview with you, and you said you wanted to be done touring by 40.
Yeah.
You said this a couple years ago.
Yeah.
Now we're getting closer to 40.
Yeah, what are you talking about?
Oh, excuse me. I meant 30.
Time is going in reverse.
Not looks-wise. I didn't say you look 40. I was shocked that you said that because I was like, 40, that's early.
Oh, because it's, okay.
We're on 41.
Here I am just being like, okay, this drag hurts, you know, it's like the corset and like the heels and like, you know, the wigs and like the like on stage, like, whew.
Tell me about 8.
Okay, so
8 must be your baby.
It is my baby, because I really, my experience songwriting really was only doing like little mini challenges and verses on RuPaul's Drag Race. Though I had a history in like doing musicals and like performing music, finding my own voice was really a challenge. And so 8 really is an exploration, and also I feel like an amazing example of like who I am and like what it's taken to get here. And it really just borrows from a lot of my fondest like memories and experiences, like just like the first types of music that I remember listening to.
So stop there. What was that? Because your mom was a reverend.
Yes.
Right?
Mm-hmm,
so
yeah.
was it church? Is that where you first connected to music? Or before
I mean,
that,
absolutely.
Was it in the house?
When it came to performing music, church for me was like the first place that I really started to learn how to like perform music, like learn how to like sing in the choir, like hear harmonies and like melodies and, you know, just all of these things. And that was definitely one of the first examples. And then my dad, he had like a really big record collection. So, you know, we would listen to a lot of Motown and jazz and disco. And then my siblings who were much older than me were like into like 90s R&B and hip hop and house music. So I had like all these like really interesting influences all at once, like as a child when I really first recall like experiencing music. So I kind of just like wanted to go back to like the core, you know, and just like explore all of those sounds for this album.
How many songs did you write for this? And
8.
Please.
See what I did there?
See what you did. And they were all perfect.
Yes.
So going on tour like this, Nation is in a very weird place, right? Like,
yeah.
Like you're talking about, you learned your music from the church, and now we've got people banning drag queens
exactly
from the church. It's like, how ironic is that?
Yeah.
On this tour, what are you thinking about that, and the way the country is at this kind of a crossroads?
It
feels
is.
like.
Yeah, the country is definitely at a crossroads right now, and I feel like what's most important for me to do is to go out and just be my most authentic self and to show that I'm not a threat to anybody, that actually all that I intend to do and all that I know that I do is just like bring light into like the world. You know what I'm saying? It's just important to go forth and just like bring people joy and inspire them. I know that like growing up, I had so many conflicted feelings because like there was so many people that were trying to teach me to hate myself. And when I decided to go the opposite way and go on this whole journey of like self-love and exploration, it's really when I found like myself and my own confidence, and I wouldn't give that up for the world. So,
and to think that people are trying to take that joy away from kids,
yeah,
or anyone, not necessarily kids, but just anybody.
I know.
is heartbreaking to me.
It is, but you know what? We are a very resilient community.
Damn right.
We're not going anywhere. We've been around since the dawn of time. So I just know that this is like a phase where we are just going to have to be really, really activated and proactive against all of this legislation and just like work really, really hard to ensure that we still have like our freedoms and our liberties because we are Americans too.
God bless America.
You know?
In their next chapter, Shea hopes to trade time on stage for time on screen.
Okay.
I feel like at that point, I want to be on like TV sets. Like
Okay.
that kind of, instead of like, you know, bus, club, another club, that kind of like grueling, no, I will be so exhausted. I value sleep. Like after having the opportunity to be on like a scripted series and have kind of like, you know, like 5 a.m. to 5 p.m. work schedule, it's actually quite nice.
And
like,
probably a bigger paycheck, right?
Yes. So, you know, I'm like, that's where I'm trying to make my transition to having like, you know, a lovely day in my trailer and then going to set, filming, you know, a couple scenes and going back home and having something that's like really just kind of like steady and consistent, like, you know, that kind of schedule.
Right. So I imagine the show you're talking about, and I know it's top secret, Marvel's got you on lockdown,
Yeah.
but is Ironheart.
Yes.
Okay, so I know we can't talk about it so much, but I wonder how you grew as a performer from that experience. Because, I mean, you were a series regular, you were in the show.
It was really intimidating at first to go into a Marvel series.
Did you know about Marvel? But like, are you a Marvel fan?
Yes.
Okay,
So
good.
like, and I mean, I became even a deeper fan because there's so many connecting storylines. So I was just like, I really got to go on like a deep dive because there's all these little Easter eggs and like hidden little hints here and there that like come up in different like movies and series. So I really, really went on a deep dive after getting cast in the show, and it was so much fun because I was concerned about being the greenest person there. Like as far as experience, it being my very first experience, I needed to rely and lean on the other experts and more seasoned professionals that were there to just kind of like, you know, help me get up to speed. It was really, really special.
Do we see like an amusement park ride in your honor from your character or
I
something?
mean, I hope so.
Did we negotiate that?
I hope so.
So, you know, we live in a city, we're so lucky we live in a state that embraces drag right now.
Yeah.
So many states right now are leaning in a different direction. That scares me. It makes me nervous. It's the reason I rushed and got married last year because I was scared the Supreme Court was going to take my right to get married away. I wonder how you're feeling in this moment and what your thoughts are about the state of the drag community and what people need to do.
I feel activated because all of these conversations about drag queens, you know, being a threat to children's safety is just so asinine. It's so lame. It is so transparent. The way that these conservative politicians and pundits want to try and make drag queens be the scapegoat for what we know is a lack of gun control. The number one threat to children's safety is guns. So, you know, once we stop being, you know, affected, well, I feel like once we call out the smoke in the mirrors that Republicans and the GOP are using by trying to scapegoat drag queens, the sooner we can get to the real issues at hand, which are, you know, stricter gun control laws and being able to create food security for children and have clean drinking water in places like Flint and Jacksonville, Mississippi. Like, these are real issues that are actually affecting children. So I feel like we should focus on that and like leave me and my art and my freedom of speech alone.
What are the conversations you have with your other queens, your fellow queens about this? Or
honestly, we're just, lifting each other up and supporting each other, especially like our sisters that live in states that are, actively targeting LGBTQ people, mostly gender nonconforming and trans individuals with these just incredibly terrible laws.
When I hear that people are thinking drag queens are coming for children, and I'm listening to you talk about how tired you are and how exhausting it is, it's like that is the last thing. Like, drag is actually not that sexual when you think about it, because you are strapped, pulled, tucked, and then like the last thing you want to do is anything like that, right? You want to go home, go to bed, take your wig off.
Exactly. It is a series of just like hooks and pulleys, just like holding everything together. Like, I mean, try and even find a body part anywhere that is remotely sexual. Everything is just like wrapped in like tights and lycra and sofa cushion foam. Like, it's impossible.
It's ridiculous. So I applaud you. I mean, and I do, because like, it's people like you. We can't stop. We got to keep looking forward. And I love your positivity about it.
Yeah.
I really feel that, because you can't let it get you down.
We've always been here. We're not going anywhere. Like, that's the thing. We've always existed. We've always been here, and we're going to continue to persevere. And like I said, these politicians need to focus on the real issues. If you don't want children coming to drag shows, then, make childcare affordable.
Right.
So that the parents don't have to bring them with them. Like, there are so many other things that you can do that, can prevent these innocuous situations where, drag queens are grooming and sexualizing young children. It's not happening. So let's focus on the real solutions to the real problems.
Now I want to play a game with you called Nip Tuck. So this is what it is. Basically, we take a nip. Mm-hmm. We've got your favorite. What's your favorite tequila?
Oh, it's Casamigos.
Casamigos Respirado.
Yeah.
Reposado.
I like Respirado. It's giving me like deep breaths.
Respirado. So what I want to do is we're going to take a shot right now. Are you going to finish it?
So funny thing about Nip Tuck.
Okay.
Nip Tuck was a show.
It was a show.
By Ryan Murphy. Mm-hmm. And the reason why this show is so important is because when we were talking about me coming out when I was 15, Nip Tuck was actually a huge reason why I came out. Because while we were like on the subject of like trans and gender nonconforming people, queer identities, there was a storyline where Sean McNamara's son had a relationship with an older woman who was a life coach for his mother, who he later found out was like a trans woman. And he was like, but I don't identify as gay. And he had a grandmother his mom's mom, who was a psychologist. And she goes, well, so what if you are? And she goes, would you rather live a safe life or an authentic one? And I remember, it's literally just a scripted drama, but those words just like struck me. And I remember that being like a major turning point in me deciding to be honest with the people in my life about identifying as queer. How
old were you at that
15.
point? 15. So we didn't even have any idea that there was this connection when we came up with this game. So what it is I wanted to take a shot before I heard how you actually tuck. Because I really, I know that you put the junk between your legs, but I don't know anything more than that. So I'd love like a step-by-step. Like if I really wanted to tuck, what do I have to do?
Okay, so what you would have to do is first, there is a creed that all drag queens take in which they swear before RuPaul and the judges of Drag Race that they shall never dispel the secrets of a successful tuck.
Are you serious?
I'm serious. It is magic that is only, it is only bestowed upon the fiercest queens in the land.
I've literally got duct tape here. I was ready to go.
You were ready to fall.
And I did not know. I didn't know it was a secret. I was ready to go. I was ready to
well,
like
if
drop
it wasn't a secret, wouldn't you know?
Wouldn't I know? Okay. Well, that's it. What if I give you more liquor? More nips? Can we get more nips for Shea?
Yeah, I mean, look, I'll take another nip.
but it won't. All right, there goes that game.